limitless infinity. According to this concept, God is not only a center but also area. Centralization is the first step towards limitation. Therefore, centers which form in the substances of Ein Sof are finite because they are predestined to dissolution back into the cause of themselves, while Ein Sof itself is infinite because it is the ultimate condition of all things. This circular shape given to Ein Sof signifies that space is hypothetically enclosed within a great crystal-like globe, outside of which there is nothing, not even a vacuum. Within this globe, symbolic of Ein Sof, creation and dissolution take place. Every element and principle that will ever be used in the eternities of cosmic birth, growth, and decay is within the transparent substances of this intangible sphere. It is the cosmic egg which is not broken till the great day be with us, which is the end of the cycle of necessity, when all things return to their ultimate cause. In the process of creation, the diffused life of Ein Sof retires from the circumference to the center of the circle and establishes a point, which is the first manifesting one, the primitive limitation of the all-pervading O. When the divine essence thus retires from the circular boundary to the center, it leaves behind the abyss, or, as the Kabbalists term it, the great privation. Thus, in Ein Sof is established a twofold condition where previously had existed but one. The first condition is a central point, the primitive objectified radiance of the eternal, subjectified life. About this radiance is darkness caused by the deprivation of the life which is drawn to the center to create the first point, or universal germ. The universal Ein Sof, therefore, no longer shines through space, but rather upon space from an established first point. Isaac Meyer describes this process as follows: the Ein Sof at first was filling all and then made an absolute concentration into itself which produced the abyss, deep, or space, the Avir Kadmon or primitive air, the Azoth. But this is not considered in the Kabbalah as a perfect void or vacuum, a perfectly empty space, but is thought of as the waters or crystalline chaotic sea, in which was a certain degree of light inferior to that by which all the created worlds and hierarchies were made. See the Kabbalah. In the secret teachings of the Kabbalah it is taught that man's body is enveloped in an ovoid of bubble-like iridescence, which is called the auric egg. This is the causal sphere of man. It bears the same relationship to man's physical body that the globe of Ein Sof bears to its created universes. In fact, this auric egg is the Ein Sof sphere of the entity called man. In reality, therefore, the supreme consciousness of man is in this aura, which extends in all directions and completely encircles his lower bodies. As the consciousness in the cosmic egg is withdrawn into a central point, which is then called God, the Supreme One, so the consciousness in the auric egg of man is concentrated, thereby causing the establishment of a point of consciousness called the ego. As the universes in nature are formed from powers latent in the cosmic egg, so everything used by man in all his incarnations throughout the kingdoms of nature is drawn from the latent powers within his auric egg. Man never passes from this egg. It remains even after death. His births, deaths, and rebirths all take place within it, and it cannot be broken until the lesser day be with us, when mankind, like the universe, is liberated from the will of necessity. The Kabbalistic system of worlds. On the accompanying circular chart, the concentric rings represent diagrammatically the 40 rates of vibration called by the Kabbalists spheres which emanate from Ein Sof. The circle X1 is the outer boundary of space. It circumscribes the area of Ein Sof. The nature of Ein Sof itself is divided into 3 parts, represented by the spaces respectively between X1 and X2, X2 and X3, X3 and A1. Thus X1 to X2. AIN, the vacuum of pure spirit. X2 to X3. Ein Sof, the limitless and boundless. X3 to A1. Ein Sof R, the limitless light. It should be borne in mind that in the beginning the supreme substance, AIN, alone permeated the area of the circle. The inner rings had not yet come into manifestation. As the divine essence concentrated itself, the rings X2 and X3 became apprehensible, for Ein Sof is a limitation of AIN, and Ein Sof R, or light, is a still greater limitation. Thus the nature of the Supreme One is considered to be threefold: and from this threefold nature the powers and elements of creation were reflected into the abyss left by the motion of Ein Sof towards the center of itself. The continual motion of Ein Sof towards the center of itself resulted in the establishment of the dot in the circle. The dot was called God, as being the supreme individualization of the universal essence. Concerning this the Zohar says, when the concealed of the concealed wished to reveal himself, he first made a single point. The infinite was entirely unknown, and diffused no light before this luminous point violently broke through into vision. The name of this point is I Am, called by the Hebrews Ehai. The Kabbalists gave many names to this dot. On this subject Christian D. Ginsburg writes, in substance the dot is called the first crown, because it occupies the highest position. It is called the aged, because it is the first emanation. It is called the primordial or smooth point. It is called the white head, the long face, macroprosophus, and the inscrutable height, because it controls and governs all the other emanations. When the white shining point had appeared, it was called Kether, which means the crown, and out of it radiated 9 great globes, which arranged themselves in the form of a tree. These 9 together with the first crown constituted the first system of Sephiroth. These 10 were the first limitation of 10 abstract points within the nature of Ein Sof itself. The power of Ein Sof did not descend into these globes but rather was reflected upon them as the light of the sun is reflected upon the earth and planets. These 10 globes were called the shining sapphires, and it is believed by many rabbins that the word sapphire is the basis of the word Saphira, the singular of Sephiroth. The great area which had been privated by the withdrawal of Ein Sof into the central point, Kether, was now filled by 4 concentric globes called worlds, or spheres, and the light of the 10 Sephiroth was reflected down through each of these in turn. This resulted in the establishment of 4 symbolical trees, each hearing the reflections of the 10 Sephirothic globes. The 40 spheres of creation out of Ein Sof are divided into 4 great world chains, as follows: A1 to A10, Etziluth, the boundless world of divine names. B1 to B10, Braya, the archangelic world of creations. C1 to C10, Yetzirah, the hierarchical world of formations. D1 to D10, Asaya, the elemental world of substances. Each of these worlds has 10 powers, or spheres, a parent globe and 9 others which conduct out of it as emanations, each globe born out of the one preceding. On the plane of Etziluth A1 to A10, the highest and most divine of all the created worlds, the unmanifested Ein Sof established this first point or dot in the divine sea, the 3 spheres of X. This dot, A1, contains all creation within it, but in this first divine and uncontaminated state the dot, or first manifested God, was not considered as a personality by the Kabbalists but rather as a divine establishment or foundation. It was called the first crown, and from it issued the other circles of the Etziluthic world: A2, A3, A4, A5, A6, A7, A8, A9, and A10. In the 3 lower worlds these circles are intelligences, planars, and elements, but in this first divine world they are called the rings of the sacred names. The first 10 great circles or globes of light which were manifested out of Ein Sof and the 10 names of God assigned to them by the Kabbalists are as follows: from Ein Sof came A1, the first crown, and the name of the first power of God was Ehai, which means I am that I am. From A1 came A2, the first wisdom, and the name of the second power of God was Jehovah, which means essence of being. From A2 came A3, the first understanding, and the name of the third power of God was Jehovah Elohim, which means God of gods. From A3 came A4, the first mercy, and the name of the fourth power of God was El, which means God the Creator. From A4 came A5, the first severity, and the name of the fifth power of God was Elohim Jibber, which means God the Potent. From A5 came A6, the first beauty, and the name of the sixth power of God was Elovadoth, which means God the Strong. From A6 came A7, the first victory, and the name of the seventh power of God was Jehovah Tsaboth, which means God of Hosts. From A7 came A8, the first glory, and the name of the eighth power of God was Elohim Tsaboth, which means Lord God of Hosts. From A8 came A9, the first foundation, and the name of the ninth power of God was Shaddai, El Chai, which means omnipotent. From a 9 came a 10, the first kingdom, and the name of the 10th power of God